Horns up and welcome to a brand new episode of Headbanger's Kitchen. My name is Sahil and today we are going to be cooking up a dish that I actually wanted to make for you guys last week, but there was a shortage of beef in Bombay, so I made a pork breakfast sausage instead. If you haven't seen that video, click here on the I button and watch it. So today I'm finally going to make a Hungarian goulash for you guys, a keto version of course, and we're going to be using beef because, well, I finally got my hands on some. Now, goulash is probably the most famous dish to come out of Hungary. In fact, what do people in Hungary eat apart from goulash? If you know the answer, let me know in the comments below. Anyway, enough jibber jabber, let's get cooking. So the first thing we're going to do is take our beef and cut it into chunks. So I have dry aged this beef in my fridge for 2 days. But of course you don't need to do that. I just did it because I think it enhances the beefiness of the dish. And for this recipe, I would recommend that you use a slow cooking cut of beef. Something like chuck roast would be perfect. And of course, cut the beef however big or small you like it. If you like large chunks of meat in your stew, cut them big. If you like them small, well, cut them small. Anyway, once our beef is chopped up, I'm going to season it with only salt. No pepper, just some salt. Now I'm going to be cooking with goose fat for this recipe, but you can use any kind of cooking fat that you like. Anyway, I'm going to heat up about a tablespoon of that goose fat in my Dutch oven, and I'm going to put it on a high heat and make sure that the goose fat is smoking hot. And then I'm going to add my beef in batches. And I'm going to sear it on both sides. The idea here is that we develop a crust on the beef, you develop some fond on the pan, that is the brown stuff that stays there, and all this leads to intense flavor in the stew. So the thing to remember here is don't put too many pieces of beef in your pan, because otherwise the temperature of the pan will drop and the beef will start to stew instead of basically caramelize. So anyway, do your beef in batches. For some reason mine was sticking a bit, but anyway I got mine done in about 3 batches. And then I'm going to add a tablespoon of butter, and I'm going to add in about 150 grams of chopped onions, and I'm going to give it all a good mix. So now we're going to cook these onions low and slow and start to develop some delicious flavors in this stew. I'm also going to add in some celery. Now I don't think celery is used in the authentic Hungarian goulash, but I've seen a couple of recipes with celery and I did manage to get some celery today, so I'm using it. Anyway, now you just want to let the onions and the celery cook till they start to soften. In fact, if you have patience, let them start to brown a little bit and develop a lot more flavor. Anyway, the next thing I'm going to add is some caraway seeds. This is an authentic ingredient, or so I'm told. And I'm going to add paprika, a very generous heaped tablespoon of paprika. Now of course, ideally you want to use Hungarian paprika, but hey, it all depends on what you can find in your supermarket. And once that starts to brown at the bottom of the pan, I'm going to add in tomato puree. Now you can use canned tomatoes, you can use fresh tomatoes, you can use tomato paste and water. It's completely up to you. I'm also going to add a beef stock pot into that, and I'm going to add water. And of course, instead of stock pot and water, you can just add beef stock if you have some. And I do believe in the authentic or the original recipe they would use only water because there was enough flavor from the beef. But hey, you know, I just want a beef plus plus, like an A++. Anyway, give that all a good mix, and you want to now bring this up to a gentle boil. And now I'm going to throw my beef back into that pot, and I'm going to give it all a good mix. Now I'm going to add in 2 whole bay leaves. I'm also going to add in some black pepper and a little bit of salt. And of course, give it all a good mix. Then I'm going to cover it and let it cook for a long time. You want to cook it till the meat is nice and tender and the stew has reduced down and got a nice thick syrupy consistency. And I cannot believe that I forgot to add garlic. So I'm just going to mince some garlic and add it straight into the stew. Hopefully it will still have a nice garlicky flavor. And then of course give it all a good mix and let it continue to cook. And of course you want to keep opening it up, giving it a good stir to make sure that nothing is sticking, and then just let it cook low and slow for, well, this generally I think would take an hour and a half at least, if not longer. You could also just put this in your oven at like 180 degrees Celsius for like 3 hours till like everything is just falling apart. Anyway, I'm just gonna let it keep cooking. And now when the beef looks like it's almost getting ready, I'm going to add in some green bell peppers. Now once again, I do believe they use red bell peppers in most recipes, but I just stuck with the green ones because that's available here easily. And then I'm just going to cover it and cook it for about 5 minutes more till the peppers become slightly soft. After about 5 minutes, our stew looks ready. It looks beautiful. It looks thick. It looks rich and unctuous. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to chop up the green leaves of the celery, and then I'm just going to finish the stew with that. Because you know what? I think it just makes sense to not waste part of the celery, which we can use and is perfectly edible. Anyway, give it a final good mix. And there you have it. Our keto Hungarian goulash is ready, and it really looks delicious. Anyway, enough jibber jabber, time to taste. Hey folks, so it's time to taste our keto goulash, and I've added a little bit of sour cream to this. You can also add some butter, some cheese, and anything else, maybe some fresh cream to kind of up the fat content if you like. So I'm going to dig in now, get a bell pepper, a piece of beef, a little sour cream, and of course the gravy. It's rich, and I don't mean like fatty keto rich. I just mean that gravy is thick, like, you know, for a gravy with no corn flour or any thickening agents. It's a rich gravy. The beef is cooked well. The peppers have softened perfectly. They're not mush, and yeah, I have to say I'm pretty pleased with the results. Anyway, I hope you guys will make this at home, and I really hope you enjoyed this recipe as much as I did. Anyway, enough jibber jabber. See you on the next episode of Headbanger's Kitchen. Cheers and keep cooking. Hey folks, if you enjoyed the video, please hit the like. Some keto recipes. I am this recipe for you guys. And goulash is a Hungarian stew or soup. I don't know. I'm not feeling it. Horns up and welcome to that's exactly what we are going to be making with it. And shit man, what is happening to me? The most famous dish to come out of Hungary is I'm done. Beef. Guys, just make sure. Oh, look at that beef, my friends.